It's time to geek out and talk about my absolute favourite TV programme of all time, Game of Thrones. How can I talk about Game of Thrones without spoiling it for people who haven't seen it? Well, I can start by talking about what's so great about it, the characters, themes and fantasy elements in it that make it so good. Firstly, despite a lot of drama, characters, situations, wars and politics in the show, it is a fantasy story. There are fantasy elements here. There are the White Walkers and their army of the dead. Yes, there is a horror element of the undead in Game of Thrones, and this is definitely one of the really cool things about it. And there are dragons. And there's magic. So that's three really cool things about Game of Thrones that any fantasy geek should enjoy. But one of the main things that's really great about Game of Thrones is how gritty and edgy it is. There's sex and adult themes throughout. There are a lot of horrible, violent things that happen also. Good characters suffer and die horribly. Bad characters also suffer and die horribly. The show does not hold back on such things. Even the most ordinary deaths can be really bloody. People get disemboweled, beheaded, burnt and mutilated, and the show is quite graphic in its depiction of such things. And you can never feel secure that any character you like is going to survive. Several surprising defeats and deaths of major characters occur. Rape happens, hands get chopped off, men get emasculated, there is prostitution, domestic violence. Like I said, it's gritty. Another great thing is there isn't always a clear division between the good guys and the bad guys. A character you thought you despised can grow to become heroic or sympathetic. Characters you love can sometimes do questionable things. That feels more real than most fantasy, most fiction even. And it is so much more satisfying than simplistic morality. And there are deep themes here. Religion, politics, sexuality, family, money, all the things that exist in life are explored at some point or another. Also, Game of Thrones is endlessly quotable. Some of the best moments are the dialogue between different characters. It is a thoughtful, almost philosophical show at times. Much of this is thanks to the writer of the books that the show is based on. George R.R. Martin has created all of this depth and edginess that makes so many people love the show. It's him we have to thank. But let's look at some of the awesome characters that make the show so wonderful. My favourites are Daenerys, Tyrion, Arya, Varys and the Hound. Daenerys is a powerful, beautiful woman who is trying to win back the Iron Throne and rule over Westeros, but all her stories take place on the other continent, Essos. Slight spoiler, but she frees slaves and has 3 dragons, and she's awesome. Tyrion is a dwarf. He is pleasure-seeking and enjoys getting drunk and sleeping with prostitutes. But what makes him so great is how clever and witty he is, often getting the better of his cruel, arrogant family and providing a voice of reason and conscience in the madness that surrounds him at King's Landing. Some of the best quotes from Game of Thrones comes from Tyrion's mouth. Arya Stark is a young girl that wants vengeance for all the wrongs done to her family. She is courageous and wants to be a kick-ass warrior or assassin. Varys is a eunuch and a master of whisperers in King's Landing. He is often working behind the scenes, conspiring and scheming. When first we meet him, it's hard to know whose side he is on, whether he is good or bad. As time goes on, it becomes more apparent that he is a man of conscience and his heart is in the right place. But he is another clever character with many witty, quotable lines. The eloquence of his speech, the whole way he speaks his lines, it's a pleasure all of its own. He's great. The Hound seems like an unlikable character, and he certainly has a rude and irreverent nature. But we see a good nature in him as he protects first Sansa and then Arya. This makes his coarse, rough persona all the more enjoyable, as he certainly doesn't take any nonsense. Fuck the king. There are other interesting characters, the ever-suffering Sansa, the Honourable Jon Snow, sweet Samwell Tarly, horrible Theon transformed into poor Reek, Littlefinger, another schemer but less likeable than Varys, weird experimental medic Qyburn, Brienne of Tarth, another kick-ass woman. It's a great show. If you haven't watched it, give it a try. Watch the first season and see what you think. It's slow going and a little confusing for the first few episodes, but really starts to kick off from episode 4. There's nothing else like it, and it's brilliant. Thanks for watching me geek out about Game of Thrones. I hope to do more geeking out about other things I love in the future. Any suggestions? Comment below. And thanks for watching. Strictly speaking, fuck the Kingsguard. Fuck the city. Fuck the king. I'm not questioning your honour. I'm denying its existence.